Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewicki. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says a bill that would guarantee the independence of anti-corruption bodies in Ukraine has been submitted to Parliament. This comes after a wave of backlash following the passing of an earlier law, which critics say substantially reduced the autonomy of those institutions.
Already today, my draft law that I promised is in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine for justice, for law enforcement and anti-corruption bodies. Full guarantees of independence for anti-corruption agencies. Real opportunities to verify to prevent any Russian interference. Everyone who has access to state secrets, not only in NABU and SAP, but also the SBI and our national police, must undergo polygraph tests. These must be regular checks. The draft law also includes provisions that protect against various abuses. The text of the draft law was discussed with partners, law enforcement and representatives of NABU and SAP. Many proposals came from our partners to involve European experts, the UK, Germany, the European Union. I instructed our officials to present the draft law to all our partners and involve all necessary expert capacities.
A surge of anti-corruption fury is sweeping across Ukraine. Tens of thousands have poured onto the streets of Kyiv and more than 20 other cities, denouncing the new law, which they say kneecaps the country's anti-graft agencies and, by extension, Ukraine's chances of joining the European Union.
What began as a few hundred people on Monday has mushroomed into an estimated 9,000 protesters, part of a nationwide outcry against a bill passed just 2 days earlier. Banners accuse the lawmakers of destroying democracy by yanking the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office under the Prosecutor General's control.
We are calling for a faster review of the draft law that would restore the independence of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. In other words, it would bring back the status quo, the one that existed, say, last week.
Similar chants, "No to corruption rollback," rang out in Lviv, Dnipro, Odessa and more than a dozen other cities. University students, farmers and IT workers say the rollback jeopardizes vital EU integration reforms.
We keep standing here to truly fight for the independence of these two bodies, because this is very important to me. I want Ukraine to be part of the European Union, and this is one of the conditions we must meet.
Responding to the pressure, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has rushed an emergency bill back to Parliament. It would shield NABU and SAPO from political interference, reinstate procedural safeguards and even require polygraph tests for staff handling state secrets. Protesters vowed to keep vigil outside the Rada until lawmakers vote, arguing that Ukraine's credibility abroad and its European future hang in the balance.
The United States has approved over $300 million in potential deals with Ukraine for the maintenance and sustainment of weapons systems, including M109 self-propelled howitzers and US-provided air defense systems. In a statement on Thursday, the State Department announced it had made a determination approving a possible foreign military sale to the government of Ukraine of M109 self-propelled howitzer maintenance, repair and overhaul capability and related equipment for an estimated cost of $150 million. The US State Department also said it would sell Ukraine air defense support equipment worth approximately $180 million. According to Washington, the proposed sale will, and I quote, enhance Ukraine's ability to counter current and future threats by further equipping it to conduct self-defense and regional security missions. The United States will provide Poland with a $4 billion loan for defense purchases. The loan agreement was signed on Friday by the Polish Defense Minister and the US Secretary for Arms Control and International Security.
In times like these, security must be our absolute #1 priority, regardless of our political emotions and regardless of our views. The matter of Poland's security, cooperation with our allies, the resilience of our society, and a large and strong army is not a political issue. It's a patriotic issue. This is our responsibility to future generations and our duty to past generations. Will we leave Poland and Europe safer, more prosperous and better? Or will we leave it mired in chaos, hostility and lies, under permanent threat from our adversaries?
In an interview with TVP World News Tonight, Michał Baranowski, Poland's Deputy Minister of Development and Technology, provided insight into the recent EU-US tariff deal. While he didn't discuss the specifics of the ongoing negotiations, Baranowski emphasized the importance of achieving a balanced agreement.
Let me just reiterate the reasons why I'm not going to discuss the details of it is because we are negotiating. It would be pretty forward for one of the deputy ministers in one of the member states to say that a potential deal that may or may not be on the table is good enough for us. We are looking for a balanced one. Now, any tariffs above zero are not good for, are worse than the alternative for European producers and for American consumers. Let's remember that those tariffs are being paid by American consumers. For those in America that might be watching me, that's really where the buck stops.
China's BYD auto manufacturer plans to delay mass production at its new factory in Hungary until the end of the year, according to a Reuters report which cites sources close to the company. The plant will run below full capacity for at least the first 2 years. Now, Reuters reports that despite operations being halted in Hungary, BYD's new factory in Turkey will begin production earlier than originally expected. Citing lower labor costs, Reuters sources say the production there will vastly exceed its announced plans. BYD now plans to make only a few tens of thousands of vehicles over the first year of production in Hungary. The initial manufacturing plan called for a capacity of 150,000 vehicles, with a maximum capacity of 300,000 cars produced per year. American tech giant Intel is pulling out of planned factories in Poland and Germany. This decision comes as the company's new CEO seeks to cut what he considers unnecessary costs. The US company said it is cancelling plans to construct a semiconductor factory near Wrocław in southwestern Poland. The factory was supposed to create around 2,000 jobs. This pullback comes after Intel completed a majority of its planned job cuts, letting go of some 15% of its workforce. The company has set a goal to cut operating costs by $17 billion in 2025. The German Intel plant, which was also cancelled, was supposed to be the biggest semiconductor factory in Europe. The company's new CEO announced that Intel will take on a new approach when it comes to expanding its production capabilities. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that France will formally recognize Palestinian statehood, with the decision set to be formalized at the UN General Assembly in September. Macron expressed his hope that this step will contribute to peace efforts in the Middle East, reaffirming France's long-standing commitment to a just and lasting peace in the region.
Consistent with our historical commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I have decided that France will recognize the state of Palestine. I will make this solemn announcement before the United Nations General Assembly this coming September. The urgent priority today is to end the war in Gaza and to bring relief to the civilian population. Peace is possible.
The United States has strongly rejected French President Emmanuel Macron's recent decision to recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. The US response comes after the contentious declaration by Macron, which also drew criticism from Israeli officials. Now, to date, 148 countries, including Poland, have recognized Palestine as an independent state. But the US and Israel remain among the most vocal opponents of this move. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio took to social media on Thursday evening, labeling Macron's move as reckless and accusing it of serving Hamas propaganda, ultimately hindering peace efforts. Rubio said that the decision was a slap in the face to the victims of the October the 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. Israel itself, too, reacted strongly, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning that the move would reward terror and potentially strengthen Iran's influence in the region. Tensions have flared between Poland and Lithuania after a senior Polish diplomat condemned controversial comments made by the head of Lithuania's language watchdog, who suggested that Polish schools should not be allowed to operate in the country.
On July 11th, Audrius Valotka, the head of Lithuania's state language inspectorate, sparked controversy during an interview when he said that there should be no Polish or Russian schools at all, specifically referring to areas with large Polish populations. Poland's charge d'affaires in Vilnius, Grzegorz Poznański, responded sharply, condemning these remarks as harmful, unjust and offensive to Lithuania's Polish citizens. In an open letter to Lithuanian Culture Minister, Poznański said such statements contradict legal norms and long-standing agreements between the two countries, aimed at preserving friendly relations. Poles make up the largest ethnic minority in Lithuania, with over 6.5% of the population.
Latvia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs is urging caution after revealing a growing number of Latvian nationals falling victim to deceptive job offers linked to migrant smuggling across Europe. The ministry has warned citizens against being tricked by criminal networks posing as legitimate recruiters.
Since the beginning of 2025, 33 Latvians have been arrested across Europe for migrant smuggling, with the majority detained in Poland. 25 individuals in total. Additional arrests have been made in Hungary, Croatia, Lithuania, and Italy. According to the Latvian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, criminal organizations are actively recruiting Latvian nationals via social media, offering seemingly legitimate transportation jobs. Latvian authorities are warning citizens of the severe legal consequences. Smuggling migrants is a criminal offense, punishable by lengthy prison sentences. In Poland, for example, those convicted could face up to 8 years behind bars.
Police in Clearwater, Florida, have provided an update on the death of Terry "Hulk Hogan" Bollea, the legendary professional wrestler who became a global icon in the 1980s and the 1990s for his time in the World Wrestling Federation. Known for his signature Hulkmania persona, Hogan was a pop culture sensation, but tragically, the police confirmed that he passed away at Morton Plant Hospital after a medical emergency at his home in Clearwater.
Just before 10 a.m. today, Clearwater Fire and Rescue, along with the Clearwater Police Department, responded to a house in the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue for a medical-related call. It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m. The Clearwater Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time.
Polish astronaut Sławomir Uznański-Wiśniewski, who made history as the second Pole to travel to space after Mirosław Hermaszewski, has expressed his readiness to join the European Astronaut Corps, should the decision be made. Returning to Poland for the first time after his mission aboard the International Space Station, Uznański-Wiśniewski spoke with the Polish press agency, confirming that his potential inclusion in the European Astronaut Corps depends on the decision of the Polish Space Agency and the Ministry of Finance and Economy. The Polish astronaut emphasized that he hopes his 17 years of experience in space technology, as well as the knowledge gained from his space mission, could benefit Poland's space ambitions. Currently a reserve astronaut for the ESA, Uznański-Wiśniewski actually expects his contract to expire at the end of 2025. His potential transition to the European Astronaut Corps is tied to Poland's financial contributions to the ESA, with the country having pledged approximately 400 million euros for the period between 2023 and 2025. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching and please stay with us here on TVP World.